Let's go.
Welcome back to Brawlers Broadcast, and we're back here again as per every week after a banger of a card. I am Vikhyat, your co-host, and that's Ritik, my co-host. And we're back again, Ritik. Let's just start by saying that this was another fight night that could have easily been a pay-per-view.
For sure, for sure. Like, what an insane card, man. So many knockouts.
So many knockouts, man. So many knockouts. Expected, unexpected, all of them. But let's start with your rating for the card out of 10.
So, rating. Well, since it was a fight night, I would say a solid 8.5. 8 or 8.5.
Fair enough. Fair
Yeah.
enough. For me, it was like a 9 on 10 kind of a rating. Solid fight night.
Absolutely.
Probably one of the best we've seen in the last few years.
Yeah.
Really good. So I mean, let's get underway. Yaar. We have 5 fights to discuss. We'll quickly run through a few of them, and then we'll take some time on a few of them and kind of ask you, our audience, everyone, what's next for these fighters. Let's just quickly start with Johnny Walker versus Volkan Ozdemir. I hope I got that right.
You massacred it.
Uh,
It's okay.
it's okay. I got massacred just like Johnny Walker did, right?
No,
that
bro, that was
that
sick.
chin doesn't really hold up, and it did not yesterday as well. Brutal knockout, and Ozdemir looked amazing.
Yeah, man. I mean, it was sort of expected, though, to be honest with you. Like,
True.
I mean, I expected it because Volkan Ozdemir is like, he's just one of those guys. He's like, if I had to compare him with someone, I would compare him with Jack Hermanson from the middleweight division. In the sense that, obviously, then they don't fight, like, they've got nothing in common, but like, Jack Hermanson is like one of those guys who does a really good fraud check. He's very well rounded and technically sound. He
Yeah,
does not have the power of Volkan Ozdemir or the striking ability, obviously. But again, like I believe Volkan Ozdemir has like one of the best striking in terms of pure technique in the entire division. And I could totally see him catching a Johnny Walker, man. Like Johnny Walker is just his chin is just out there, bro. Like it's in the air. Like he never tries to like
yeah,
implement any sort of defense.
yeah.
He's always fighting like a madman. He's like the Michel Pereira of light heavyweight division, except he's not jumping around, maybe not as
And
much.
given the fact that he's very chinny in general,
Yeah, exactly. And in fact, it's funny. I talked about like I compared him with Michel Pereira because
yeah,
Johnny Walker actually tried to like do a flying knee once he
yeah,
got hurt, and this it's just things like that, man. Like, why would you try that? You're like almost gassed, you're hurt, and you're trying a flying knee. It makes no sense. Like, you could just go for a double leg, man. Just go for. You're 6'5". You're 6'5". You've got. I think Volkan Ozdemir is like 6'1".
yeah. He's around 6'1",
He's
six
got a
two.
massive size advantage compared to these guys. Like,
Yeah.
if he could just hold on to the guy, he saves himself like what, a minute, like, to recover. Like, I mean, I just don't get it. I don't get the guy. His chin is absolutely gone. I think
It's,
I don't know. Quite frankly, I'm not sure what's next for him.
yeah. I mean, Uh, no, not something worth discussing more. I think we don't need a lot of time to discuss that. Johnny Walker needs to go back to the drawing board, reassess his tactics because he really doesn't do a whole lot. And I think a lot of fans, including myself, would want to see him do better. Just as someone who likes MMA. But okay, moving on from that, I think the hype train, or I mean, he's decent in general. I would say Shara Magomedov continues 13-0 now. He looks scary. Recently, news came out that he also landed a role in one of the Hollywood films as a villain, and he looks like one of those guys out of one of those spy thrillers, right? Who would be the final boss?
Absolutely. Yeah,
And he was savage yesterday. Questionable fence grab during the match. I get it, but pretty solid finish. And Antonio Trocoli, I mean, he was trying to wrestle, but he was not very effective at it. I think all of us could see that, and he couldn't take him down. Anything different that you expected? I have seen Antonio Trocoli fight for the first time, but
we all have.
we all have. Okay.
I mean, bro, the only reason he's still in he's even in the UFC is because let's be real, he's clapping them cheeks, man. He's dating Mackenzie Dern. There's literally no other reason as to why he's in the UFC. I mean, this guy, he just stood there, like, and this is a problem that I have. Like, I cannot truly rate Shara Bullet because it's
Yeah,
just that I'm not doubting his skills because from the eye test you can tell he's a very good striker. He's an
yeah,
elite
he's a
striker, and
yeah.
Antonio Trocoli, he's supposed to be an elite grappler somewhat because he's got a BJJ background, and obviously he's maybe that's why he's even in a relationship with Mackenzie Dunn, who's also from a BJJ background, right? I mean, it's just it probably runs in
That
his family, like maybe, but then
that BJJ could stand for a lot of things at this point.
oh, of course, yeah. I
It
mean,
could.
yeah, for sure, for sure.
So, just going ahead from here, Shara Magomedov is obviously unranked. Who do you want to see him fight next?
Well, I mean, you know, if you really had to, test his skills, you could just give him Chris Curtis, maybe. I mean, I believe Chris Curtis is number 15, right?
Yeah, he's number
And
15.
just
And
simply,
there's Michel Pereira.
yeah.
And
Oh, you could give him Michel Pereira for sure.
yeah,
Like that would be a
Pereira
sick
would
fight
be
as
a good
well.
fight.
Because
Yeah,
Michel Pereira is one of those guys who would he would love to stand and bang with Shara Bullet. Like I don't want to see Bo Nickel fight him. I know Bo Nickel called him out. That's the last fight I would make for Shara. I mean, if I'm the UFC, like I'm trying to promote either of the two guys, and there's no guarantee like whether either of the two would do really well because like we haven't seen a lot from either Bo Nickel or Shara. I don't think it's the right time to match them up. So
you know that's a fight that you would probably want to see when both guys probably hit the top five.
absolutely,
It'll make
absolutely.
more sense. It'll have more hype
and
behind it. Both guys are undefeated, by the way. Six.
and it would be a lot fair because if you compare Shara's performance with his last performance, and his takedown defense has improved a lot. Like
Yeah, it has
his
improved a
takedown
lot.
defense was ass in the last fight, bro. Now
Yeah.
it's way better in this fight. Obviously he did grab the fence, but in general like it was much better. I don't think it's on the level where he would stop Bo Nickel's takedowns, but then
Yeah.
that's the whole thing, man. That's the name of the game.
So, I mean, Chris Curtis sounds like a good fight. I think Chris Curtis prefers to strike. Shara Magomedov likes to strike. So, that should
Absolutely,
be a good fight. And he'll be ranked after that fight.
and would be a good test.
Would be a good test. And moving on to obviously another player, major player of the middleweight division, at least he used to be, Kelvin Gastelum. Didn't make the weight. Dana White was very disappointed with him. And he made it clear, even in the post event presser, that, they do a lot for Kelvin Gastelum and he's not been able to make weight. He looked pretty good yesterday. So the fight
He
was
did.
supposedly had to happen at welterweight, but
Yeah.
it happened at middleweight.
Yep.
But Gaslam looked good in my opinion.
He
I
looked
mean,
good. Yeah.
he after what he had 4 takedowns in a fight after 3 years or something.
Yeah. Absolutely, man. Like
Yeah, his offensive wrestling looked good.
it
For
did.
sure.
It did. But then again, it's like, does it have a lot of credibility? Because I'm not sure, man. Like he knew. Like let's be real. When you're about to miss weight by that margin, if you're going to miss weight by 15 pounds, not like he missed weight, but then I know he didn't miss weight because he didn't move to the scale, and it was already negotiated that they would fight at middleweight. But then he probably knew way before the fight week that he wouldn't make 170. So he already
Yeah,
had that advantage. Like who knows whether he even started cutting or not. Like we,
that's
we
true.
don't know that. We don't know that.
I
And
agree.
but we know for a fact that Daniel Rodriguez was cutting weight. He was cutting weight for 170, and he's like nowhere near the size. Like D Rod
Yeah.
is not a middleweight. Like let's be real. He's like,
Yeah.
I mean, he's got the Nate Diaz build, Loki. Like when you look at him, he's not jacked. He's like, I think
Yeah.
if he really tried, he could probably make lightweight. I mean, he does not even look like he like yeah.
Yeah.
So that's that. I think. I mean, that must have played a major role in the takedowns. I mean, let's be real. I
Yeah,
mean,
that would have. I
yeah.
would I would really agree.
The, si-
And I think you would also see a lot of size difference between both the guys.
Yeah, absolutely. But as for Kelvin, though, I mean, you could see, yeah, you could tell he was desperate. He was sort of begging Dana and Hunter in the in the Octagon interview. Like he was shitless scared, man. Like he probably thought he was gonna get cut. For
Yeah.
like it's the fourth time he missed weight, man. Like it's
He
crazy.
is he is unranked though,
He needs to
but
let go of those tacos, man. Like just let it go, man. I know you're Mexican, brother, but just stop, bro. You
true.
can't be a
But
fat fuck in the UFC, man.
let's move on to two forces of nature colliding in the co-main event, and I really wanted this to be the fight of the night, and to my expectations, it was fight of the night in a lot of ways. Until obviously Whittaker didn't get that finish, but wow, I mean, you've seen those Rocky movies where you have Ivan Drago coming in, that one big scary Russian.
Except we
Talk
had two
about
Dragos.
two of these guys facing each other, 6'3", 6'7", and they're at it.
Yeah, man, insane.
Scary man. Number 3, number 5, and Alexander Volkov held his own. I think Pavlovich really struggled to figure out the range. He kind of understood he would get countered as well, and his face was busted open
Yeah,
by the
man,
end.
absolutely. I'll tell you what's hilarious about this fight. I mean, if you had to pick one fight before the card, and you would have to like pick a fight which would go to the decision, you would not pick Pavlovich versus Volkov, right? I mean, nobody
True.
thought it would go to decision. Everyone thought
I
it
was
would be
expecting it
end
to
up
go
in a
anywhere,
knockout.
man.
And then you have Robert Whittaker, who hasn't knocked out anyone since 2017. He goes out there and gets a knockout. I mean, it's crazy. Like, that's the last fight I would expect to go to a decision. Like, and
True.
that. So yeah, it was very funny in that regard. But then yeah, as you said, the range. You know what? I what's crazy is that Pavlovich has a bigger reach than Volkov. Volkov has
Yeah.
like an 80-inch reach, and
Yeah.
Pavlovich has like the biggest reach in the UFC. He's got like
Yeah.
84 inches, right? I think the most important thing that was implemented by Volkov was the kicks.
Yeah.
Bro, those kicks were insane. He won the fight because of those kicks. Those kicks to the
True.
body were like, you could just tell
True.
like Pavlovich didn't like them, man. He
Did
didn't
not
like,
like it.
he did not like them at all, and that
Nobody
was
would like
yeah,
kicks when you're hitting them from a 6'7" guy who's
yeah. And you know,
huge.
I believe Volkov is very underrated, bro, by heavyweight standards. He's like, when you think about it, he's arguably like, when you leave out maybe Cyril Gane and maybe Aspinall or John Jones and Stipe Miocic. I mean, we get it. Those four are like by far the best. But when you
Yeah.
leave those four guys out, Volkov is probably the best striker by far. Like, nobody else is even close when it comes to pure
I,
technical striking. He
I
is a sniper, man. He's a sniper, and you know that's what happened. He Pavlovich got countered badly throughout the fight, and that was the
really
big
bad.
difference. Yeah,
And I think after a point he was very hesitant to just get in there as well, because he realized he would get dropped,
yeah,
and you get
exactly.
dropped in that division, you're done.
And
I
we talked
mean,
about it yesterday.
on
You
the
were tell,
top, and
you were saying, right, why Pavlovich didn't rush in the last minute.
yeah,
But that's the
yeah,
thing, man. I mean, I get the idea. I get the idea. Yeah, you want to go out on your shield. You're fighting in the UFC. You want to like, give yourself an opportunity to win, right? I get it. But then again, the consequences for that could be crazy in the heavyweight division. It's the heavyweight division, man. Even someone like Volkov, who does not look like he's packing a lot of power, even someone like him can knock anyone out, man. Like,
that's true.
that's
That's
exactly
true.
the reason. Yeah.
I mean, the heavyweight division is just a game of one good punch, and it's
Absolutely.
really lights out. But moving on from that, he's called out John Jones as a potential fight that could happen. I mean, let's be real, that fight is
Yeah.
not really happening anytime soon. So Pavlovich was third, Volkov was fifth. Volkov obviously jumps up to third now. The only two people above him are Cyril Gane and Tom Aspinall.
Yep.
What do you have in mind for both these fighters? Let's quickly do a simulation on that. Who do
Um,
these fight next?
I would love to see. I mean, honestly, I would for Pavlovich. I would love to see him fight Cyril Gane. The only problem with the heavyweight division right now is that Cyril Gane does not want to fight anyone. John Jones
Yeah.
does not want to fight anyone other than Stipe. Stipe does not want to fight anyone other than John. And Aspinall, obviously, he wants to fight one of Stipe or John Jones because he's the interim champion right now, and he's obviously going to fight the champion. Of course, he's going to fight soon again, but. Yeah, but I mean, let's see. I would love to see Cyril Gane versus Sergey Pavlovich, though.
Another fight that I would, just as an early prediction, say that, yeah, he's not winning. Pavlovich is not winning that fight, because we know how Cyril Gane is. He's one of those
Yeah,
unorthodox lightweight who really likes to kickbox, fight. Is not flat-footed as other heavyweights are.
that is
So
true. That is true.
we'll see what happens. But do you think Alexander Volkov versus Tom Aspinall is next?
Volkov versus Tom Aspinall. Tom Aspinall is already fighting, though, right? He's gonna fight soon.
Who's he fighting?
He's fighting Curtis Blades?
Is that fight booked already?
Yeah, I mean,
Oh,
I guess because like UFC 304, right?
I really missed that news, man. I,
Yeah.
I really missed that news. I don't recall reading about this at all. But if that's the case, then who do we have left? to fight
Yep,
for.
UFC 304, man. Curtis Blades versus Tom Aspinall. Leon Edwards versus Bilal Muhammad.
Oh, nice. This is already a banger in the making.
Hmm.
So you're telling me there's only one possible option, which is Cyril Gane, even for someone like Volkov, and I don't think Volkov is really going to enjoy that fight.
Yeah.
Wow. So the heavyweight division seems like it's kind of stuck a bit because John Jones is also out of action. But I'd guarantee you one thing: one division that's not stuck right now is the middleweight division because of what Robert Whittaker did yesterday. In a
Yeah.
world where Israel Adesanya is not there for a certain time period, Robert Whittaker is taking people's souls away, and he took Aliskerov's soul yesterday with that uppercut. What
Absolutely.
a finish! What a
Insane.
finish! Let's talk about it, man. What did you think of the finishing sequence? Did you expect something different, first of all? Because I believe he spoke about it before the fight, and you said Aliskerov looks good. I agree, he looked
Hmm.
good. I was scared of Aliskerov versus Whittaker. If you remember my text right before their
And
walkouts.
that's why I was like mocking you when I said Ikram would like finish him. But my original prediction was I thought Robert Whittaker would win via decision. He would edge out a close decision. That was my prediction. Like I thought he would get dropped as well by Ikram.
Oof, that was some crazy finishing sequence, man. I think Aliskerov
Hmm.
just could not comprehend the flurry of punches. He obviously dodged one good leg kick, but that uppercut landed flush.
Yeah, man, that was sick.
And a lot of people might take away credit from Whittaker because unranked guy, Whittaker is ranked second, but I don't see the sense in it.
Yeah, yeah.
You need to see how consistent that guy has been after getting finished by Israel Adesanya since UFC 243. He's still been there. He's held his own. He's held his spot. And in my opinion, obviously after UFC 305, I don't understand the Dana White privilege towards Israel Adesanya. That in my opinion, had that fight not been made, Dricus versus Robert Whittaker rematch was the next genuine fight to make. But now obviously there's Sean Strickland in the picture, former champion, and Whittaker being the nice guy that he is, he's not going to back out of any fight. So I think he'll agree to that Sean Strickland fight, and we'll see what happens. But who do you think he should fight next?
I mean, firstly, like as you said, like Whittaker does not back down from anyone. Like he'll accept any
Yeah.
fight, and that is exactly the reason why I respect him for accepting this fight as well. I mean, for anyone who's taking anything away from Whittaker, it makes no sense because this guy, it's a short notice fight for him as well, and Ikram Aliskerov is not. I mean, bro, just if you know anything about fighting, you know Ikram Aliskerov is very talented, man. He's
He's
super
very good.
talented. He's very good. He's good everywhere. I mean, his
Yeah.
base is combat sambo. Like
Yeah.
he's considered the greatest sambo artist ever. Like in those regions. Like everyone from Dagestan, everyone from Islam's and Habib's camp, they all collectively agree that Ikram is the best sambo guy.
Yeah.
And you know what's funny? We've hardly ever seen him use those skills in the octagon because he likes to strike a lot. You know, he's got
Yeah.
two insane KOs as well. So
This new generation of Dagestani fighters really likes to strike a lot and
yeah,
maybe
man.
prove a point to an extent with their hands. You
Yeah,
see
it's
how
good.
good Islam Makachev looked against Dustin Poirier. His striking looked phenomenal.
Umar Nurmagomedov,
No, Nagomedov.
like
True.
crazy,
True.
crazy strikers, man. But yeah, again, I respect the hell out of Whittaker for accepting this fight and then
God,
winning in that fashion. I mean, that was insane. For what's next for him, I think there's only two options left now. I think he either fights Strickland or he fights Imavov, and I don't see a scenario where he would accept a fight against Imavov because Strickland versus
yeah.
Whittaker makes the most sense, man. Like they're like,
That makes the most sense at
yeah, I
this
mean,
point.
it's like,
True.
both of them have been so good. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the fight that makes most sense.
So we'll see what happens next, and we're just a bit over time, but we'll quickly also discuss what's going to happen next UFC 303.
Hmm.
I think with the entire scenario in general, all of us could make out if we're like hardcore MMA fans that Conor McGregor was going to pull out, so we were not surprised when it happened. He's obviously being mocked by a lot of people, RDA Islam, with the kind of pinky injury that he had. But it is what it is. He pulled out, and in my opinion, he should not come back. Just call it a career. Please don't come back. Maybe go into pro boxing and box Dustin Poirier to avenge your MMA loss, but just don't come back to the sport. And this is out of love for Conor, by the way. But let's talk about the biggest company man and the biggest UFC star that there is, who's stepped on a 1 week notice again. High risk, high reward. Alex Pereira is Alex Pereira is what Michael Chandler thought he'll be. He's not here for a long time, but a good time. And boy, is he having a good time. What? He's not even in double-digit fights in the UFC. Two division champion, knockouts. He has it all. He is the poster boy of UFC right now. Do you agree or not?
Absolutely, bro. Forget Michael Chandler, bro. He is what we thought Hamza Chimaev would be. Bro, just think about it. I think Hamza Chimaev made his debut in like 2020, and Alex Pereira
Yeah,
made his debut late in 2021. He came
yeah,
1 year after Hamza Chimaev,
yeah.
and he's already a two division champion, bro.
Two
Like,
division champion.
and he's already defended his belt as well. And we haven't seen Hamza fight even. He's not even fight like I don't think he has fought the number one contender in either of the two
Not.
divisions
He's
yet.
not.
He
He's
hasn't.
not. And again, he posts bullshit like he's going to see Whittaker soon. And I have as an MMA fan given Azad
Yeah,
as a
I mean,
prospect.
to be fair, he does have some. I think his immune system is quite weak. I mean, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt because
Fair enough.
he's a fighter. Like he's like I wouldn't doubt his him pulling out or whatever. Like I wouldn't question his professionalism or whatever. But again, as you said, as an MMA fan, I'm also like sort of done with him because
Yeah,
it's not as exciting anymore.
that's true. That's
Yeah,
true. But it's been a great fight night in general,
absolutely,
and UFC 303 next week looks like a badass card already. We're going to be back for it, obviously. We are
absolutely.
going to try to do a live instant reaction right after the card. So you guys have to stay tuned in for that. We'll be live. And, like the video, subscribe to our socials. We're pretty easy to find. Big yellow logo, Brawlers Broadcast. And we hope to see you guys again next week after another banger of a pay per view. It's been
We'll be
great
back.
catching up with you.